They're being surrounded by friggin' UFOs.
Hello viewers, we're back for another video. Today we're going to be investigating the Westall UFO case that happened on the 6th of April in 1966. And please like, share and subscribe if you enjoy this content.
He was working for the US Navy, but in his spare time he's checking many Australian reports of UFOs and comparing them with American reports. His aim is to see if the reports tally, in short, whether UFOs constitute a global phenomenon. In Melbourne he's talking with Brian King.
Professor MacDonald, what have you found here that's been of use to you?
I've investigated about 50 or 60 cases since I came down to New Zealand and Australia. Extremely interesting UFO sightings, essentially similar to those in the United States.
What are the main similarities?
Persons of really quite high credibility reporting unconventional objects, discs, cigar-shaped objects, frequently at very low elevation.
This is first-person evidence from people saying, I saw a craft, a mechanical object, intelligently controlled, hovering above me. That's good evidence. I think that's evidence that deserves to be taken seriously.
So Westall is located in Melbourne, Australia. It's a massive UFO case because of the sheer number of witnesses and also the military presence that wasn't really known at this time in Australia. And what I mean by what wasn't known was also the American military presence and also some of the amazing coincidences that happened with this UFO case that I'll mention further on in this video. Okay, so here are some of the witnesses that seen this UFO when they were at school, and there is also a teacher as a witness that comes out talking about this. They explain their eyewitness testimony of their encounter, and also the crazy part about this case is that it was mirrored later on in Africa in I think the 1990s with a UFO that had actually communicated with the school children, and it's an unbelievable coincidence and similarity to this case that happened in Melbourne back in the 1960s.
Something very strange appeared in the sky above the suburb of Westall. It hasn't been explained to this day.
This boy come running in and say, Mr. Greenwood, there's these things in the sky, these things in the sky.
We looked up and we just saw this saucer type thing taking off.
It wasn't a plane, it wasn't a balloon, it was nothing like that.
A lot of the kids took off towards where it seemed to go.
All the students were just running all over the place. Hysterical.
Westall High School as a teaching situation ceased.
My girlfriend and I sat on the fence, climbed the fence, the school boundary, and we were crying, thinking it was the end of the world.
And just to add to that, there was a farmer that took photos on his camera of a bell-shaped flying saucer around this exact time in Melbourne.
Rising to probably about 3 or 4 metres, maybe a bit higher, and then it turned on its side and just almost just disappeared, just went straight up like that. And I looked up in the sky and I could see the other two. So it appeared to just disappear.
There are now over 200 witnesses that corroborate this woman's story. Hundreds of people seen this event happen over Westall in Melbourne. So here's an exact witness statement from one of the witnesses of this encounter. It's from an American military personnel, but supposedly they don't investigate UFOs, but they still took a witness statement from one of the witnesses that encountered this.
Knock on the door, and when I answered it, there were 2 people there, one in plain clothes and then the other one senior Air Force. Obviously senior had a good many rings on his sleeve.
It did hover at different times. It seemed to be able to accelerate and disappear out of sight, and then someone would see it over in another part of the sky. It moved considerable distance very rapidly, and then it would move back again.
Why did it disappear?
Well, this is one thing we just don't know. It vanished.
All of a sudden, while you were all looking at it?
No, it did one of these accelerations, and then nobody could pick it up again. It was gone.
There clearly is a report somewhere.
It's unbelievable how far back this military cover-up goes.
You're advised to go on saying that because clearly you were drunk on duty, and that will have to be reported to the Education Department, and of course you'll lose your job.
They were threatening you?
Oh, absolutely. I was threatened.
You're describing officials from our government trying to gag you from telling the truth about what you saw.
Typical DoD tactics of what they've done forever through their anti-disclosure campaign, and it's actually a deliberate technique on a huge scale of disinformation and oppression of the truth.
Oh yes, and that is what I find most interesting of all, that I was definitely being told to be quiet.
And to make this more evident that it was a UFO event, look at the army presence that immediately got to the scene within 40 minutes after the UFO mass sighting.
40 minutes of the sighting. Air Force and Army personnel, look in their trucks. They were there.
You saw this?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Military turned up for sure. You're very sure about that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And exactly what did you see? Men in uniform?
Yes. Yeah, I saw, and they actually sentry guards at their different points, stopping people from going into the Grange. Yeah,
and did you sneak in?
Oh, later on, yes, I did.
And what did you see?
The circular area, the trampled grass, and there were guards around it, and there were people in there with equipment.
What do you say to the fact that officially there is no government report into this matter?
Well, because they buried it, they hid it.
Now there gets to a point with every UFO case through recorded history has the same exact components to the witness statements and what actually happened in sequence, which is what they seen, the propulsion device they seen, the anti-gravitic system in the air moving. This witness also talks about what I didn't put in here, the heat that she felt and the vibration, not sound, vibration, and the automatic, almost instant propulsion, which is anti-gravitic propulsion, because these technologies operate on 0-point gravity. But also the military presence after the event occurs, which happens in almost every single UFO case recorded in history. Another real interesting thing about Australia and Melbourne, Australia actually is a large hotspot for UFO sightings, but there has been a lot of sightings of UFOs in Melbourne.
Bright lights. But I was wondering, and I was curious why they weren't moving. A plane should be moving, a helicopter should be moving. They don't just sit there. And then one of the lights left its group, went from a standing start to a supersonic speed over to the other group, and then just stopped dead on a dime.
Ignorance is not an option.
Ignorance is not an option, but here's some reasons why the majority of people are ignorant.
If there is some kind of consciousness that's been with us, that's not human, that is sentient, that's always been here, whatever it is, it's exciting because it redefines our understanding of ourselves in the universe. It's going to turn religion, cosmology, science on its head.
Well, I come to a conclusion through the overwhelming evidence that there was definitely a massive cover-up, and in this UFO case, it was definitely evident that it was a real event, and this really did happen in Westall, Melbourne, Australia. Same as the Battle of Los Angeles. That was a real UFO event, and we might have to delve into that in a future episode.
Asking ourselves, what does it mean to be a human being?